Hi everyone, my name is Pierre Compère, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this workshop dedicated to robotics contributions to livestock and breeding. I work for Agri Sud-Ouest Innovation, one of FIRA's partners. Agri Sud-Ouest Innovation is a cluster gathering startups, SMEs, investors, corporate firms, research agencies, as well as universities or local authorities. And our job is to trigger some business opportunity and support collaborative projects between our members. All those projects, all those businesses aim to develop agriculture and food industries. So let's talk about livestock and breeding. And we'll start with a presentation from LELY International. And I'll welcome on stage Timo, who's a global head of product management at LELY International. So LELY was founded in 1948 in Netherlands and now presents a turnover up to 600 million euros purely based on robotics for livestock. LELY is known for its milking robots, menu robots, and feeding robots. But today we are going to talk about the latest innovation, LELY Exos robot. Timo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Pierre. So we will go. If the slides comes up,
we can see you. We can see your slides.
Perfect. Perfect. So welcome all to this presentation of LELY. As Pierre already said, mostly known of our milking robotic systems, but next to that, a lot of innovation. So today, we won't spend a lot of time on what we do, what made us big, but especially want to focus a little bit on our new developments, which is called the LELY Exos, our self-propelled load wagon. It's a new direction that we are taking. It's really taking, we are getting out of the barn, inside of the field, as we see as a company that within livestock, feeding and harvesting feed is of utmost importance for the success of the farmer. Just to start a little bit before we go into details, how we launched such an innovation.
So LELY is creating a revolution for farming, you say?
Yes, indeed. And it's, as you can see, it's only just 2 months old that we launched it to the world. It's the self-propelled load wagon, as already said, and where I would like to emphasize a little bit on why we made this step and what is so particular about this step. And that's why I called my presentation that innovation never stops. So LELY, as said before, is known for optimizing the barn itself with the solutions, automatic feeding, automatic milking, and scraping, so keeping the environment, the production environment clean. But the picture is bigger than that. The picture that we see for the future is the whole farm. The whole farm, including the LELY Center on the upper left, but it's a whole ecosystem. And what we try to do is to create added value for that whole ecosystem that is a dairy farm. So as said, of utmost importance, of course, is the inputs you have within your farm. Knowing that 50% of your operation cost is within feeding, this is where this presentation will be about, to somewhat finalize or close the circle of this circularity, to be able to to be able to manage this whole spectrum. Small hiccup in the, there we go again. So where I would like to touch upon first is that 2 months ago we launched 2 new innovations. First is on capturing the evaporation of ammonia that we all know, so the famous gases that we need to try to eliminate in agriculture with our LELY Sphere solution. It is a solution that captures all the gases, cleans them, and takes out the nitrogen part that can be used as a fertilizer on the land. So next to inside the barn, we are really now focusing on manure. Why is this so important to mention it next to what we are saying today? Is this whole ecosystem, as well as feed, but also the manure, these are all value streams that are present on the farm. And where we really try towards the future to try to see how we can help farmers to create value out of these streams. As you all know, the phosphates, the nitrates, and the potassium that are in. And to see, instead of being a polluter, the dairy sector can become a producer of these goods. So the LELY Sphere is a part of it, and what is really nice that it creates a 70% reduction of ammonia emissions inside the barn. So a lot of people that visited already our sites say that, hey, it doesn't smell like a barn anymore, and it's all due to the fact that there's no ammonia anymore. And the second part may be as important, and which links perfectly to the topic where we talk about the LELY Access. It creates its own liquid fertilizer. As we wash the emissions, we take out the nitrogen, and we have the ability, or the farmer has the ability, to use that nitrogen on its own land. So there we come to the second step of this ecosystem, where once we have brought the inputs, the nitrogens, to the land to harvest soil. But of course, as it is a complete system, we have to see how it works together with, as a lot of companies or a lot of countries have the obligation to put the cows out to graze, to make it a perfect integration in the land usage. Which lands do you use for your grazing your herd? Which lands could you use to harvest your grass for your to feed the cows their complement? And of course, and what makes it exciting for our part is that it's not a standalone robot. So the LELY Access is not a robot that only does where it's developed for, but it also works in combination or together with our automatic feeding system, the LELY Vector. You could see from, the LELY Access will bring the grass, and the LELY Vector will complement with corn silage or with concentrates, minerals or whatsoever, to complete the ration that you want to feed to your cows. So still a little somewhat hidden here. You can already see a little picture of what it entails. But I wanted to show you this bigger picture before we go into details. Maybe just to show you everything, on the right-hand side, you see multiple red blocks. That is our LELY Orbiter, our on-farm processing unit, where we also try to increase the value of the outputs of the farm. So today there's a direct stream from the farm towards supermarkets across the country, especially in the Netherlands, where we launched it, to commercialize your own milk. So having said that, this whole interface becomes a farm interface, where we really try to hook up a lot of data integration, exchange, where we try to hook up all the different elements of a farm. A question that I got from before having this presentation is, but why do we sometimes, LELY is red, so why do we see yellow? Well, yellow is for us, we call it the yellow revolution. is when we really launch a groundbreaking innovation that covers a new domain and can even be considered as disruptive in the industry. This is how we launched in '92. We launched the robotic milking system. In 2010, we launched the LELY Vector automatic feeding system. And now we come back with the manure solution called LELY Sphere, as well as the Exos. So don't talk any longer on let's go to the core of the business and talk a little bit more about, I see your impatience, Pierre, so that's really good. So let's show you a little bit our launching video of the LELY Exos. Here we go.
Grass. It is the natural feed source for dairy cattle. As a farmer, you know that fresh grass is good for your cattle. From the energy-rich first cut to the protein-rich autumn grass. It pays to maximize the proteins and energy from your own pasture. It means getting more nutritional value from your own land and converting it into economically sustainable milk production. On many dairy farms, the feed ration largely consists of silage, even during the growing season. And that's a shame, because fresh grass contains 10 to 20% more nutritional value than grass silage, which means that cows don't need extra concentrates to get the same nutrients. In addition, mowing, tedding, raking, baling, ensiling, and feeding silage requires a lot of work and fuel. What if there's a way to feed fresh grass from early till late in the growing season without extra labor? A solution that increases the intake of fresh grass even in combination with grazing, so that you need considerably less grass silage. What would that mean for your farm? With this all in mind, we developed the first system to feed fresh grass autonomously, the LELY Exos. Still in its concept phase, the system harvests fresh grass day and night, brings it to the barn, and feeds it to the cows in small, tasty portions. This way, you unlock the full potential of fresh grass, as an improved zero grazing system or as an addition to grazing. When you feed a large share of freshly harvested grass, you can minimize silage production. That alone saves a lot of time and money. You can make the best use of the entire growing season from start to finish, because the lightweight, electrically powered LELY Exos system is designed for minimal impact on the soil. The grass-fed is just as fresh as it is in the paddock, because the Exos cuts and loads the grass with the utmost care. There is never too much or too little feed, because the Exos bases the feeding frequency on the feed intake of the animals. The Exos collects valuable information for optimizing your grassland management. During mowing, the system can dose liquid fertilizer, a good combination with the LELY Sphere system. This makes the LELY Exos concept fit perfectly in a circular dairy farm. Utilizing all nutrients from own-grown feed is crucial in future farming. Unlock the full potential of fresh grass.
Quite impressive.
And so,
a yellow revolution.
A new yellow revolution is born, indeed, like you say, Pierre. So that's why I emphasized a little bit also, why is it a yellow revolution? What for us we see as groundbreaking that there are multiple robots that work together. So it's not only one task that is outsourced to a robot. No, it's a combination of robots that communicate together to fulfill a certain function. The domain, we go back into the field, and as you could have seen, maybe not in the video directly, but it was told that we can grasp the fertilizer produced by the LELY Sphere, and we can instantly, after harvesting, fertilize the land again, because it's a continuous system. So the LELY Exos, it goes almost 9 months a year. It runs. And the last, but certainly not least, it's not only the function of bringing fresh grass to the barn or to the cows, it's also eliminating the need for stock. So as you extend your growing season, as it will collect the grass when it grows, you feed the cows with what is actually growing. So there's no storage needed anymore, or less storage needed, only to cover the winter period, which will avoid, as said in the video, a lot of loss of nutrients, and especially a lot of manual labor as well. So we bring to the cows what has been grown on the fields. There's no intermediate step. So we eliminate this step of waste. Of course, we cannot do it all, but at least we try. So where we are today is there's a lot of testing, of course, to have all the different functionalities tested. It's a completely autonomous driving vehicle with all the legislations and everything that comes around it, where security, of course, is of utmost importance, and where the precision of GPS is really important. You saw it in the video. We are in the Netherlands in an area with a lot of water, so we have a lot of ditches and all the kind of stuff. So it needs to be precise. We need to be sure that the axis drives where it can drive, and it doesn't go doesn't fall into the water. So maybe a little bit more about the functionalities of the robots, and on the right-hand side, the future look of it. As today we are in the phase of validating, verification and the validation of the product. So it's not commercially available yet, but I wanted it to share, and we share it with the world because, it's a self-driving vehicle. It's you can see it when you drive in the fields. So better put your name on it when it's like that. And I think we are all developers. We are the same. So it's a lightweight machine. It's lighter than most of the tractors that we know. As said, it harvests the grass and emits the fertilizer. It has a capacity of 1 ton of grass per run, but of course it can run multiple times a day. It's in the complete vision of 24/7 operation. We do 24/7 milking, we do 24/7 feeding, so we can also do 24/7 harvesting. Although it's dark, we all know we do not need light for robots to be able to operate. Of course, a lot of technologies that are embedded. Just listed some to be sure. To tell you a little bit about it, lithium batteries that can charge, and as said, it works together with the other systems. A small overview of all the embedded technology, what we have, how it is conceived. It's the mower in the front end, then we have the conveyor belt that brings the grass into the bunker, and afterwards we have the distribution belt at the back end side to operate the pure functionality of the machine. Of course, as you can see just above the logo on the front end, we have the stereo vision to be able to steer, to do object detection, and to avoid collisions, of course. But if it may happen, of course, the whole machine is surrounded by collision safety bumpers, and it will bring the robot to stop until it reanalyzes if it can continue. That's a technology that we know from our barn scrapers, where we know how to counter a cow. If a cow is in the way, that we can counter it instead of bumping into it all the time and try to see if we can continue. Outside in the field, we use the GPS, of course. When we go inside the barn, we switch over to ultrasound according to the feed fences, where we use ultrasound to guide it through the building. It's seamlessly taken over to perform. So, as said, it's not only about the machine itself, it's really complementing the feeding strategy. So see it as a whole. How does it work? We have the LELY Vector, the feeding system that is responsible for the ration. You always talk about the master and the slave. So the LELY Vector is responsible for the ration, and he will send out an order to the axis to say, okay, I need another ton of fresh grass in the coming instantly, or in the coming 30 minutes, or in 2 hours, or whatsoever, according to the consumption. With the LELY Vector, we measure the consumption of the cows. So we only feed to the consumption. We do not bring just a quantity of feed to the feed fence, but really according to the consumption. The access will drive to the field, collects its tonnage of fresh grass, and bring it back to the barn, while spreading the liquid nitrogen to the field to create the growing steps that we need to be able to come back to the same grass field in, well, depending on the weather, but 3 weeks or 4 weeks time. So the access will distribute the grass that he has collected. The vector will measure again, and well, it's a continuous loop, ongoing. And well, Mathé afterwards, one of our farmers that used the system, will elaborate a little bit more on his experience on it. And where the vector will in the end complement with the other components of the feed to create the ideal calculated ration from all the feed advisors worldwide. So this is about the LELY access, what I really wanted to bring to this stage. Last year I talked about the way we develop at LELY, and I'm really proud to be able to present in a preliminary stage this new product, this new innovation to this audience, Pierre.
Thank you, thank you. Maybe some date or deadline to market your innovation?
Yeah, so as said, we are in the validation. So currently, you saw it in the slides, we have six operations running. For the moment, six products running for the moment in the Netherlands. But we foresee that it's commercially available in 2024, that we are really able to conquer the market. Maybe a little bit earlier in some areas, but we choose for a phased rollout because also for our distribution channel, there's a lot of new technology coming towards them. So it needs a lot of training and all the kind of stuff to be able to serve farmers worldwide.
Okay, then. Let's talk with Mathé van den Bosch, who is a farmer in the Netherlands and user of several LELY's robots. And Mathé, you've been testing actually the Excess robot. But first, could you present your farming organization?
Hello, Pierre. Good morning. Yes, I am Mathé van den Bosch. I'm 50 years old, and together with my wife, we have a dairy farm with 320 cows in the southwest of the Netherlands. We have a 19 hectares crops with 18 hectares corn and 72 grassland. We have a help on the farm, external help for 5.5 days a week, 8 hours a day. And the land work is partly delegated to some subcontractors. At the moment, we're milking with 5 LELY A5 robots, and we have a vector feeding system. We are a test farm for LELY since 2008, and we milk with milking robots since 2000. So that's
okay, so you were kind of a pioneer with the robots, weren't you?
Yes, we were forced to make a choice in 2000 when at that time I worked together with my parents, and they got older, and we have to choose between robotics or external labor. And at that moment, LELY had a really reliable milking system yet. So we choose for the robots.
So LELY,
especially for the labor efficiency.
Labor management was your main motivation?
Labor management was indeed my main motivation, and also because of the social aspects that you have can make your own day planning. Because it was quite expensive also at that time, but there were enough good points to make that choice. And
without robots, you would need at least maybe 2 or 3 more people.
We would at least need 2 more people at the farm for the milking process, And well, it's not only the milking, it's also the work around calving, because with at the average, every day there's a calving cow, and it needs attention, and the calf needs attention. So there's still enough work to be done. But the main part, like the milking and the feeding, is automated. So that gives me a lot of freedom and labor profits for the whole thing.
And before talking about your experience with the LELY Exos robot, what about how did you get in touch with the robot providers and LELY specifically? How have you organized your relationship with this provider, whereas the robots were maybe 100 fully operational?
Yeah, as I said, we got the first robots in the year 2000, and I had some ideas for a better version of some parts of it, and at that way I came in contact with the developers of it, and so they appreciated my opinion, and so in 2008 when we decided to make a bigger barn, to build a bigger barn, we were definitely added to the test team of robotic products of LELY.
But what were the counterparts for you? Was the price lower, or was it free for you, free of charge? What were the counterparts?
I just still have to buy I still have to buy the products for a little reduced price, but I have less maintenance costs. So that's the financial part. That's more profitable for me. But at the other end, there's a lot of time. I spend a lot of time with talking to people to evaluate the process of testing. And
especially
for me,
as
it's
a
just a big hobby. I like to be part of innovation. And then sometimes I see products around the world where I can say, well, the first edition of that product worked on our farm. So that's I'm a bit proud of it too.
And
but
you
I must say,
Timo, you would like to add something?
Yeah, I must say, Pierre, that Mathé, as being a test customer for a long time already, he has seen both sides of the medal. It's not only glory. Also, some of our products failed, and we must be clear without that. And failed at the farm at Mathé, where we said, okay, this is not ready for the market. We have to go back to the drawing table. So it's an intense cooperation that we have.
And Timo, actually, you inspired me a question. What about insurance, or do you how do you manage the fact that farmers are taking risks with their own revenue, their own production? What would be the counterpart for them if there's a loss of production?
Yeah, of course, and then especially in the phase where Mathé is operating in testing proof of concepts. That's what we do at Mathé's farm. You need it's a partnership. So Mathé is a commercial farmer. We are a commercial company. So if there's clear that there's a loss due to our fault, you need to pay. It's obvious, because only like that you can build up this strong relationship in the future. That he is still willing to work with us on the new evolutions that we are preparing for the future.
So everything is settled by contract, like an R&D partnership.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Okay. Mathé, back to you. What do you reckon all farmers would be okay with that situation? Would you be, as far as you are concerned, would you be farmer if you wouldn't have access to these innovations?
Probably I still would be a farmer, but a different kind of farmer. As I said, I like new innovations. I get bored to work on my farm with no changing elements every few years. So it's part of became part of our farm, and it's not. It's no blocking for innovations for growing. And that's what I have to be very careful of, that not too much of my attention is going to innovation. Our farm has to be profitable on its own, and without new innovations. So, but I have a very good relationship with LELY, and it's not. There is a contract, of course, but all things what happen here is not to be described on paper anymore. So LELY can rely on me, and I can rely on LELY 24/7. If I have a problem with Christmas in the night, there's always someone available to help me, and no one is complaining whenever I call them, and they're all willing to help me, because you can come in situations where just a few people can help you, and so they always have to be stand by.
And let's talk a bit more about your experience with the X's. Actually, cows can eat by themselves outside, or they could. What would be for you the advantage of this machine X's? Are all your cows within your
barn,
I missed the word. The barn. Yes, thank you.
The milking cows in lactation are within the barn, and the dry cows and the younger cows are outside. So we have a partial grazing. The LELY Axles is working from the end of March till late November, almost December. So it has a much longer season than you can go outside with the milking cows. There's also the video you saw in Timo's presentation was at the farm, another testing farm, who combines grazing with the axles. And you can say, well, cows go outside by day, and the axles is mowing in the night. So you can give more fresh grass to the cows, partly grazed by themselves and partly provided by the axles. So, but for our farm, we have our cows inside for 30 years. So and we have a clayey soil, and it's difficult to have cows outside when the weather is wet, and so they will spoil the pasture, or the grassland. So we choose for.
That's why you expect the need for this robot. What about how do you effectively deploy the robot within your organization? You need to manage differently your human resources. How did you effectively change your practices?
The biggest changes with automation generally is that you don't have to make a day planning. You're free to make a day planning. You're not tied to certain times like milking and feeding and also. And the LELY Axles is working together, as Timo told, with the existing feeding robot, and does his own thing. It drives when its grass is asked, fresh grass is asked, and it's pausing when it needs some when it's not needed. So I don't have much extra work. What I can say about the axles is the cows are really very enthusiastic. It's fresh grass is the best feed you can give them. In the first few months when we start testing with the axles, the cows really got out of their mind when the axles was entering the barn, because they all thought, wow, it's like cherry. They really like it. They are more enthusiastic about fresh grass than to concentrates. It's normal. So they needed time to understand that it could not be feeded every round. So at the first months, every cow was standing up and walking to the fence to get their part of the green grass. But now, after a few months, they know, okay, we have to wait till it's really distributed it to our own group, because the cows are in 4 groups, divided in 4 groups. So they are for sure, the axles is dividing fresh grass to their own group. It's, that's what you have to really, the cows had to wean on it too. get used to it.
Yeah, do you reckon it would be there's a time for the cows to get adapted to it, or it was easy for them?
Yeah, because they're enthusiastic about it. They had to understand that it's not every round feeding time for them.
How long did it take?
Yeah, a few months. So that's
a few months.
Yeah,
so
but I can say we have this year we had a totally. We just stopped a week ago with mowing. Now there are some temperatures behind zero, and the grass stops growing. But we had 2.2 million kilograms of fresh grass fed to the cows. So that's a huge part of our ration yearly.
Yeah, quite impressive. You would like to add something?
Yeah, it's probably we all recognize it, being all innovators in robotics with all the participants of this congress, that most of the time it takes more time to the farmer or the operator to get used to the robotics than especially the cows, a living animal. We saw the same with the robots. They are used after 2-3 weeks, and the farmer needs 6 months. Yeah.
Actually, Timo, as I have you on stage in a way, you explained to us that the Axis is connected with the other robots and LELY's robots and food management systems. What about, is the LELY system an open one? Can you operate other robots or other IT systems with LELY, or is it a closed environment?
Yeah, so up till now, it's still, what we have now is still a closed environment, but we are opening up. So because we see towards the future, it's the most added value is that we first bring all the existing data together. And if it's a LELY machine or another machine, well, for the farmer, our customers, that shouldn't be the most important thing. We are all here with our developments to bring the most added value to our customers. So for us towards the future, it's definitely possible to connect other machines than LELY machines, as long as there's a data connection and we can supply added value towards our customers through these connections.
Okay, very clear, thanks. Mathé, what would be the limits you've experienced with robots in general and with the Axis as well, specifically, because for now it looks like a dream. So what would be a limit or a constraint you've experienced?
Well, I see it as a start with the first autonomous vehicle on the field in agricultural aspects. So I think the sky is the limit. If you ask me what's my dream for the far future, well, my dream would be selling all my tractors and have a completely automated dairy farm with my focus on the health of the cows and the cow welfare. So that's my answer there.
Okay, and what would be your advice to robot developer if you had one?
Yeah, for robot developers in general, not only agricultural sector, but what I tell people who work here or who work on a project, well, grab your laptop and go to the machine itself. You cannot develop a machine completely from behind your desk. You see what it's doing and directly make your corrections or improvement. So that I see people who in the barn, in the field, and that's where you can make the biggest progress.
Okay, thank you. So that's a nice conclusion for this first sequence around LELY's machine and especially its new innovation Exos robot. Thank you, Timo. Thank you, Mathé. Please stay with us. We might have some questions for you a bit later on. Now I suggest we move on to a short presentation from two robot providers, both specialized in poultry breeding. And I'll start with the Heiner Lehr from Faromatics. Faromatics is a precision livestock farming company based in Spain. And Faromatics has created ChickenBoy, a ceiling suspended robot that monitors broiler chickens. This robot is tested in 5 different countries within Europe. And Heiner Lehr, Faromatics CEO, is with us. And Heiner, the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Pierre. So thank you very much for allowing us to explain a little bit about our project here in a very short presentation. I need to apologize in advance. I use a lot of embedded video in my presentation. Unfortunately, this conference platform does not allow that. So you will be presented with some almost empty slides. I will try to explain what is shown on these slides. There was a last-minute hiccup on the format, and therefore, you know, that's unfortunately how it is.
Sorry.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, what we are looking for here is we are Faromatics, a startup company, 4 years around. We work in welfare and productivity. So our task is to increase both at the same time. We work in the broiler industry for the time being, for the only reason that we raise 60 billion of these animals every year, 3 billion of which never make it through the process because they fall ill and die. They gobble up 250 million tons of feed every year, 3 million of which we could easily save if only we had a bit better digestion management. And some of them, they don't even end up in the human food chain because they're rejected at the slaughterhouse. We could save 1.6 billion birds every year if we had more control over the living conditions of the animals. And here's would be a video of the robot, but I cannot show that to you, so I will skip through that and just show you a picture. I'm sorry, this is acting up here. So with 9 sensors, artificial intelligence, and big data, we're able to do a lot of things for both the chickens and the robot. So we look out, you know, that the thermal environment of the chickens is perfect in every single point of the farm. Air quality is good. Light intensity is correct so that the skeleton can grow, less leg problems. Sound levels are not stressing the birds, and that the bird distribution is fine. We use artificial intelligence to find our mortality, to keep the farm clean, wet spots to avoid, you know, illnesses of foods, and defective drinkers to allow them to drink. And then we look at excrements of the chickens and we classify them. And with this, we are able to identify intestinal diseases 24 to 48 hours before the farmer can. Not because we're so much clever, but because we look at 20 to 40,000 excrements every single day. And this allows us, you know, to identify things like, you know, what you unfortunately not be able to see here on the slide. Ammonia outbreaks. We show exactly where the ammonia outbreak is in the farm, where it starts, so that farmer can early on manage that ammonia outbreak by, for example, you know, very often it's that wet litter. So going in there and taking good care of the litter so that you can manage the ammonia. Or we show, as I said before, the excrement outbreak. Here you see a double outbreak, a double dip here, so to say, where there was an illness in the barn. When you analyze the data that you would see above, you would see it's the same space where this outbreak happens. So here it becomes manageable. These intestinal diseases become all of a sudden manageable. Or free usable space, which is a measure for, you know, the well-being of the birds in a particular area of the farm, or, you know, a stress management tool. And of course, you know, also you can show the certifier that your farm is not overloaded. We provide this information through various ways. So one of them is here our online platform, which allows farmers to do management by exception, so concentrate on the stuff that's really important. Also because we have alerts that allow farmers to remedy situations in real time, so they will know when something goes wrong. And we provide them with the basis for continuous improvement, so like daily reports, like the one that I'm showing here on screen. This is a radiography of the shed. So basically this reaches the farmers in the morning, you know, when like a morning newspaper, so they know exactly what they have to do when they go into the barn, or whether maybe, you know, they can just have another coffee because everything is just fine in that shed. And we do the same with cycle reports and weekly reports as a basis of continuous improvement of the farm, because that's the only way that you can increase your productivity while keeping welfare okay. And our clients appreciate that. They know that we're doing things for them that they cannot do themselves, that we are providing them with insights that they have never had before, and that we're allowing them to remedy situations that they might have had for years but didn't know anything about. And that explains the great industry interest. We are working with 40% of top integrators in Europe. We engage with 90% of production capacity in Germany, and our clients produce 2 billion chickens per year. We also work with Big Dutchman, the largest distributor of agricultural machinery and pig and poultry farms, with a presence in 174 countries. And this means, all this means together that the ChickenBoy is a profitable investment in less than 2 years. We improve farm management through better information. And that means for 1,000 sheds, we can increase profits by 12 to 24 million euros per year, effectively doubling income of farmers. But we are less after the transition of the okayish to the good farmer than we are after the transition of the good to the great farmer. So here we help to upgrade to the next level of performance because we provide completely new insights. So we assist farmers to move from 6 towards 7 annual cycles with consistently high performance, adding another 10 to 40 million euros per year for 1,000 sheds. And this is a short introduction into what we're doing. Again, apologies for the lacking videos. If you're interested, I'd be happy to show them to you in a separate session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heiner. Just to understand, what would be the next step for you, for Faromatics, to start commercialization of these robots, isn't it?
That's correct. So we are officially starting commercialization now. And this is big step for us, of course, as a company. But we are also working on new stuff, of course. So the ChickenBoy will receive more functionality next year, and we might be launching new robots that we already have in the works. We might be launching them towards the end of the next year as well.
Great, thank you very much, Heiner. And once again, I apologize for the technical issues with your videos. Let's move on to Yanne COURCOUX, who's the CEO of TIBOT Technologies. TIBOT is a 12-people SME founded in France in 2016, and it produced its first prototype the same year and commercialized its first robots in 2017. A real pioneer in a way. So with you, Yanne, we are going to talk about Spoutnic, the first autonomous robot for poultry farming. Yanne, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pierre. Good morning, everyone. So yes, indeed, our little robot Spoutnic has been designed to address the question of flow eggs, especially in broiler breeders. But this robot is also being used in layers and in turkey production. I would say what really makes this robot different is that we are both able to target growers and large integrators because we really focus on addressing productivity, production issues, profitability issues, and improving working conditions for the producers. This is why we've been very successful working with growers directly. As you said, Pierre, we are at the level of development where this robot has been commercialized for 3 years now. We have more than 200 units deployed today in 22 countries. We have also started to develop our distributors network. We have 14 distributors today, North America, South America, Europe, and a little bit in Asia as well.
Could you explain us why is the need for moving the birds, which is one of the main outputs of using your robots? What does it represent in terms of amount of work for non-Spoutnic users, breeder?
Well, when you receive a flock of new birds, basically, if the birds do not know that they have to lay the eggs in a nest at first. And the litter is a real temptation for them because it's soft and comfortable. So they actually like to make a little nest in the litter, and they will tend to lay the eggs on the floor. Now, with the new rules on medication and rules on food safety, whatever is on the floor is actually can be dirty eggs. They can be cracked and have, not be clean. I mean, if you don't have clean eggs, you're actually not, they should be discarded, not re-enter production. So if you don't have a robot, the only way to educate your birds to go to the nest is by walking back and forth for probably the first 8 weeks. So we have growers ending up, walking sometimes like 12, 20 kilometers per day to move the birds. And they also have to pick up. Yes, and whatever eggs are on the floor, they have to be picked up very quickly. Otherwise, it will attract other birds to lay eggs at the same place.
Understood, thanks. What about the main functionality of your robot?
So this robot has been designed taking into account the specific constraint that you will find in a poultry house. It has to be quite low on the ground, with, have compact dimension to be able to go under feeding chains. And maybe here what we can do is check the video.
Yes, please. Yeah, Yanne, I was looking at the video. It inspired me a question. What about animal welfare? Are the chicken afraid of your robot, or is it actually the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose is not actually to get them scared, obviously, to spook them, but to get them moving on a long-term basis. So you probably noticed that the robot has lights, and it is also equipped with sound, and we can add some mechanical stimuli on the robot. And this is to prevent habituation in the long term. Because what you want really is to get the birds moving on the litter. Now, getting the birds moving also has obvious benefits in terms of welfare, and we now have some very interesting results in terms of having lower mortality and less diseases in barns where the robot has been used. What is also interesting is that we have recent tests on the impact of the robot on fertility. And if you get birds to move and female to move, then you're going to have more mating and you have a higher fertility. So our calculation of return on investment means that the robot is paid back within 6 to 12 months. As you can see, the price of the robot has also been thought of to be affordable for the farmers. The last thing I would like to mention is that we really worked on a product that is plug and play, extremely easy to install. So no technical installation. You can receive your robot whether you're based in Japan or in Canada. You don't need technical assistance to start it. And at the same time, we also developed a controller with the robot to be able to personalize your robot on a certain number of functions in order to adapt both to the species and to the house specifications.
So what would be the next step for TIBOT technology and Spoutnic in particular?
Well, for Spoutnic, I mean, we have a high ambition of continuing our commercial growth. in the market where we are already present, but also targeting new markets. We recently had a very interesting development in South America.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we are always working on a new R&D project, targeting either improving our product or targeting new production, such as broiler production.
So we'll talk about that next year in the next FIRA edition. Before closing this session, I have a questions for Heiner from Faromatics, and for you as well, Yanne from TIBOT. We've seen that with Mathé. Mathé sent us a message saying to robot developer, work in the field, work with farmers. You cannot develop something behind your desk. What were your experience with your robots? Did you have collaborations with farmers, and for how long of time, and how many farmers? Maybe Heiner to begin.
Yeah, I mean, one of the key steps in the development of Faromatics was to secure very early on, a farmer like Mathé, so somebody who is willing to take the what did Timo say, the glory and the defeats. So that's extremely important. Without that, it's completely impossible, because you sit behind your desk, you think you have a great idea, and then you go on farm and you try it out, and it's just not so great when it is in the farm.
And what were the counterparts for them? I think we've lost Heiner. What about you, Yanne? Did you have some collaboration with farmers?
Well, I'd say that this is maybe one of the particular thing about TIBOT, is that the company was actually based on a farmer idea. At the very start, it was Ben and Laetitia Savary, who have been growers of breeders, for 15 years, and they were faced with this problem of flow eggs. And that's how the company was born. We really took that, born from the field, I like to say. We took that very specific problems, and that's how the first robot, our Spoutnic robot, was actually conceived. So whatever we do today, we actually have about, I would say, a group of 10 farmers, and whatever we develop or we imagine, we go right away talking with those farmers from the very beginning, even when it's only an idea, to actually confront our idea with the reality of their work and of their constraint. And very early on, we do very simple prototypes, and we put it as early as possible in the farms to test them. I don't like to do R&D in the workshops and only with engineers around the table. I think as early as possible, it needs to be in the field.
Okay, thanks. Well, we have only 2 minutes left. I'll try to get back in touch with Heiner in a few seconds. Maybe Timo, have you a word to conclude this session? What have you learned from your colleagues in the poultry business?
Well, exactly what Jan said. It's listen to your customers, to your users. They most of the time come up with the greatest ideas. Afterwards, it's just a challenge. Are we able to develop it? Technically is never the limiting factor, but are we able to develop it for a reasonable price, as Jan already explained, that they can put it into operation? So stay close to your customer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all, guys. Thank you. Timo JOOSTEN from LELY International, Mathé van den Bosch, user of LELY's robots, who's a farmer in Netherlands. Thank you, Heiner Lehr, CEO of Faromatics in Spain, and Yanne COURCOUX, CEO of TIBOT Technologies with its famous robot Spoutnic. Thank you all, guys, and see you soon for more innovation in robotics. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.